A truffle is essentially a ganache. And a ganache is a French term for chocolate that is melted into cream. So that's basically all a truffle is it's chocolate, delicious chocolate and delicious cream. And then, you might gild the lily by adding butter. You might add some other ingredients and some flavorings. But that's basically what the center of chocolate is, and it's the center of a truffle is. And it's super easy to make. So I categorize truffles in 3 categories. I call them coated, then I call them dipped, which is what you kind of traditionally see when you have a coating of chocolate on the outside and then the ganache on the inside, right? But that it's a little bit more rustic looking, you know what I mean? And then I call the third one are molded. And those are the ones that look totally smooth and shiny on the outside. Okay, so let's talk about what they all are. The first ones, these coated ones, are basically just total ganache that's been chilled and rolled and coated in any sort of topping. And this is sort of the easiest, most basic, most, accessible truffle to make in your house. One of the big components of the hazelnut truffle is the Frangelico. The hazelnut liqueur, and that gives it a lot of flavor. Even essential oils like peppermint or lavender or things like that into your truffles and flavor them however you want. So the sky's the limit. You could also infuse teas into that cream or infuse different flavors into that cream. So if you wanted to do like an Earl Grey truffle, you put Earl Grey tea in there and then do it in chocolate or maybe, milk chocolate or dark chocolate. So you can infuse other things into the milk. It doesn't always have to be stirred in to the chocolate once it's melted. It can be infused into the cream as well. And it's not milk, it is heavy cream. We're going to make white chocolate, cashew and cranberry truffles coated with coconut, and then we're going to make a dark chocolate mocha truffle with a little espresso bean on top. You could buy chips. Okay, let's talk about, you can buy chocolate chips for sure and do it this way. But at the store I went to, they only had bars in good white chocolate. They had like another brand of white chocolate that had hydrogenated oils in it, which I prefer not to eat. So I just got the Ghirardelli, which is completely just chocolate and in bars, and then I take my big serrated knife and I just chop it up. And you just want to chop the pieces like, maybe a 1/2 inch cube, something like that. Just a nice fine chop, because what we're going to do is we're going to heat our cream and then we're going to pour it over this white chocolate mixture. So put it in the bowl, pour the cream and the corn syrup that's in here that's heated, pour that over the chocolate and then set it aside. You could put a lid on it if you wanted. You don't have to. We'll put this on it. Keeps the heat in, but the cream basically does all of the work for you. So now it's going to melt gently, and then in 5 minutes or so we're going to stir it and it'll be completely melted. It'll be totally taken care of. You don't have to stand over the stove and stir it. So then once that melts, we put it into the refrigerator and we cool it, and that's what this is right here that I did this morning. And so it's cool. I maybe put it in there for maybe a 1/2 hour, 45 minutes. And now it's still spoonable though, It's not quite truffle consistency, right? So now I'm going to stir in some soft butter that's room temperature. It definitely has to be room temperature. Now, see how soft that is? Really, really soft. You stir in the butter. That's it. Beautiful. Now let's go ahead and do our nuts and cranberries so that we can put that whole thing into the refrigerator. So I just did some cranberries and some roasted, salted cashews. And you could put it in the Cuisinart like if you're doing more, but this little thing works, and you just grind it up, not to a paste or anything, but just nice and fine. It really is. It works pretty well. And put this in there, and then Simone, I'm going to ask you to take this to the refrigerator. The second way to do it is with this little ice cream scoop. And you just take, it's not quite hard yet, but you just take a little scoop, and then on your board you'll just put these down like that. Then you'll go and you'll put these back in the refrigerator, the same process, put these back in the refrigerator or the freezer, chill them, roll it, which will be so much easier because it'll be nice and cold, and then put it right into your bowl of whatever you're going to roll it in. Coconut or nuts or praline or whatever you like. And then these stick in the like I say, in the refrigerator, keep them in the refrigerator. And then when you want to serve them, you just pull them out of the refrigerator, let them come up to room temperature, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then you're ready to go. Right, we've got the ganache made, we've got that down. So we know how to do that. Cream, corn syrup if you want, over the chocolate, let it stand for 5 minutes, stir it, let it cool, put the butter in. And why do we add butter? You know, when it's solidified, when it's in the refrigerator, it also helps it solidify a little bit and become a little bit firmer. So you stir in the butter, the room temperature butter, and any other flavorings you want to put in, and then you're going to let it chill until it's cool enough to scoop or to pipe. So that usually means about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. You could put it in the freezer. Last night I did it. It was late, I did it, and I put it in the freezer for 20 minutes, and that worked. And then it was cool enough to scoop. So you can do that too. Now, if it gets too cold, that's kind of the issue, is that you don't want this bowl of chocolate that you have to get too cold. So you kind of have to be in it for a couple of hours. Okay, so you have to be aware, you have to be in the process. So you can't just leave the chocolate, go shopping, come back, you know, because then you're going to have to take it out of the refrigerator and it's rock solid, and then you're going to have to now wait 3 hours for it to come to a pliable temperature again. So I suggest, you know, you just plan on it on a Sunday or something like that when you're home doing other things. It's not a lot of hands-on time, but it is some time that you have to let it sit in the refrigerator and then baby it. I was going to show you a couple of different ways to make the truffles. One way is to do a piping bag. Now this method doesn't work as well if you have pieces like the cashews and the cranberries. Thank you. Okay, so you're squeezing these out. Basically what we're doing is we have it in the bag here, and then we're just going to make little round, almost kiss-likes, but we're not going to have it stand up at the end. If I pipe these, I would go ahead and stick this thing back in the refrigerator and cool them down until they're cold. The downside of these chocolates is that they always have to be refrigerated, because what happens with chocolate has a crystalline formation in its raw state, and it's when you just buy it, right? So it's brittle and it's shiny, right? It breaks easily when you buy a bar, and it's shiny. And so that chocolate is in a certain crystalline formation. They call that tempered. So here we just melt the chocolate with the cream, right? And it's now out of temper, so it's not going to be behaving like that. So you can't really keep the truffles that you make at home room temperature for very long. I mean, they can sit out for a couple of hours at a party, but they do have a tendency to get soft. You don't have to have plastic gloves though, for sure, but the chocolate does melt in your hands when you roll it. So it is kind of nice to have these. So they're cold now, and now I'm just going to take them, kind of form them into a ball and roll them and put them right into the cocoa powder, if you want them in cocoa powder. But you can see, right? So it's nice to have the gloves. Right, with the white chocolate one that has the cranberry and cashews in it, because you can't really pipe it. And you still do have to roll to get nice round balls, even when you scoop, because you're always going to have that flat surface. But it is nicer. It's a lot easier, actually, the scoop. You can take this truffle recipe for dark chocolate and white chocolate. That's why I gave you two, because the amount of cream is different in each one. You know, the ratios are different because of the way white chocolate is made. So for the dark chocolate, you can substitute any chocolate in there, and you don't have to adjust the cream or the corn syrup or any other amounts. You can put any chocolate if you like, well, like I do, a really, you know, bittersweet chocolate truffle. It's beautiful. And then if you do that, you know, I might not roll it in much. I might just roll it like in a sugar or something, a nice white sugar, especially for the holidays. That looks really pretty, because you want that chocolate to really come through. I would say that you could keep them in the freezer for maybe 3-4 months, for sure. And I would make the ganache, so make the centers and not coat it in anything. So freeze them flat first, and then put them all into a baggie, and then keep them in the freezer. Then, like, how brilliant is that? Thank you for asking. So then, when you have people coming over, you take out a half a dozen or a dozen of these beautiful truffles. You let them come to room temperature. You roll them in the coconut or whatever you want to roll them in, and then you serve them. Yeah, in the refrigerator, they could probably last 3 to 5 days coated. You know, maybe 3-4 days coated. And with the cocoa powder, you might want to coat them again before you serve them, because that will seep in to the chocolate. You know, so you might, if they're in the refrigerator for a few days, you might coat them again in chocolate just to freshen them up a bit. This is a great thing to do with kiddos. Free labor, yeah. And they can help you roll them, and they love to get all dirty and everything, and you know, it's a really nice, fun family thing. So.